Hey everybody in podcast land and also on YouTube. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And this is the Carpool Critics movie podcast where today, finally, you asked, we're giving it to you. We're covering The Dark Knight.
That's right. And don't forget, spoiler alert.
Yes, this is
He's
the
really wheezy.
second in our 3-movie coverage of Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. And you know what? We didn't even space them out by a month.
No, we
because
didn't.
we just like you guys so much.
Well, we didn't really have anything else to watch, so...
I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We should definitely do that one.
Oh, I'd like to. Oh, yes.
You weren't supposed to watch that one. You were supposed to watch The Dark
It was
Knight.
playing at the Rio.
Can we even do this?
David, did you even watch The Dark Knight?
Oh, shit.
Okay, so what do you give this movie out of 10, David?
The Dark Knight is like a perfectly seasoned and juicy roast beef with just a little too much gristle. 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, what was your Begins rating?
8.9.
Whoa. See, I said in the Begins
You were
review
right.
that it was my favorite and that I think it's the best one.
They definitely both have strengths that are different, and I'm excited to get into it. But I found this watch kind of hard.
Yeah. Wait, you gave Batman Begins 8.9 and this one's an 8.
Yes, 8.5.
Oh, dang.
Yep, we're going to get into it.
Most people would disagree with you.
They certainly would until they hear this podcast.
Okay. Do you want my...
Yes, please.
Dark Knight 1 turns up the superhero goofiness dial even more than Dark Knight 0, but it also turns up the character, plot, acting, and writing, making this sort of like the Lord of the Rings of superhero movies. Can I say that?
What does it mean?
8.5 out of 10 is what it
Whoa.
means.
Wow.
And what did you
guys.
give Begins?
8.25.
Sure.
So it's just slightly better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
I didn't think that I was going to be the one that was different. I renege on my previous statement.
Uh-oh.
My slogan for this episode is simply this. The Dark Knight is really fucking good. 9.3 out of 10.
Woo!
It's really good, you guys. I watched it Sunday and Monday.
I'm glad you liked it.
It's pretty good.
It's good. I'm going to lay out all these reasons why it's really damn good.
Okay.
Right after this message from my sponsor! Carpool Critics is supported by Vessi Footwear, famous for making shoes that are light, comfortable, and most importantly, waterproof. They're made with a dual climate knit material, and they're 100% vegan, which makes them 100% badass. They are now trying to tell you about this shoe that they made. It's called the Weekend Shoe. There it is. It's pretty nice. I think a lot of people could fit that into their wardrobe, you know? So head on over to vessi.com/carpoolcritics to reserve your own, or check out their existing lineup of the type of shoes that I wear when it's raining and get $25 off using our code. I have a pair of those the ones with no laces or nothing. They're just like a little on your foot. 100% pretty cool.
That's what they make.
We're also brought to you by Private Internet Access VPN. PIA helps you hide your true IP address so that you can bypass geo restrictions, censorship, and agents of chaos. You can connect up to 10 devices at once, and it includes an internet kill switch.
That's Batman tackling.
I got it.
Okay.
If your VPN gets disconnected involuntarily. PIA is available for Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and even for Barbara Gordon. So check it out. It's a Chrome extension. Check it out at lmg.gg/carpoolcritics.
Barbara loves that. Barbara loves that sponsor.
That scene's so much more intense than I ever
Wait, which one?
Which-
remembered. The scene at the end where he's like, when Dent is telling Gordon, like, you need to look at your loved one and tell them it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, that's
even though
pretty
you know it's
scary.
not. You're gonna have to look at them and lie.
Yeah.
That was intense. There's no moment in Begins that has an emotional high or low like that.
That's fair. And I think that's one of the strengths of this movie is that it kind of reaches for bigger, better heights. And I think it mostly succeeds. I think where I struggled is that it's not as tightly integrated as Batman Begins is. There's a lot of like kind of loose elements that are very interesting and are good. Like when he goes to Hong Kong, there's like a 15-minute segment of this movie that's like not that tightly integrated into the theme or ideas of this movie. And there's other things I want to get into, but first...
Yeah, that sounds like a good example, kind of. I kind of want to push back on it, but we should remind everybody what we're talking about by reading off the synopsis. Riley, hit
Okay,
it.
guys, a lot of stuff happens in this movie. Here we go. 1 year after the events of Batman Begins, Gotham City has finally begun to make progress in cracking down on organized crime, thanks to the efforts of Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batman.
What?
Yes.
It's the same guy?
Spoilers! Jim Gordon and the new district attorney, Harvey Dent. Bruce is impressed with Dent's idealism, believing that with Dent as Gotham's protector, he can give up being Batman and lead a normal life with Rachel Dawes, even though she and Dent are dating. But the Joker throws a wrench in the works, threatening the city with killings unless Batman reveals his identity. Learning that Rachel is the next target, Bruce plans to reveal himself, but Dent publicly claims he is the Batman. Joker attempts to capture Dent, but is captured himself. Rachel and Dent are escorted away by cops on Maroni's payroll. In an interrogation, the Joker reveals they have been trapped in separate locations rigged with explosives. Batman races to save Rachel while Gordon tries to rescue Dent, but both buildings explode, killing Rachel and disfiguring half of Dent's face while the Joker escapes from prison.
Wait. You should also say the Joker lied about which address is which, so Batman shows up and saves Dent, and he's like, no!
I figure we can cover that later.
Oh, we will.
Shortly after, the Joker threatens to destroy a hospital, causing Gordon to order their evacuation, but not before the Joker visits Dent at Gotham General, giving him a gun and convincing him to seek revenge for Rachel's death by introducing a little anarchy. Dent goes on a killing spree, deciding the fates of the people involved in Rachel's death with the flip of his lucky coin. After announcing Gotham will be his come nightfall, the Joker rigs 2 evacuating ferries with explosives, one carrying civilians, the other carrying prisoners. If one ferry chooses to blow up the other, that one will survive. Otherwise, the Joker will blow up both at midnight. Batman finds the Joker using a sonar device with the reluctant help of Lucius Fox. Both the civilians and prisoners refuse to kill each other, and the Batman captures the Joker. Wow, nice ending. Meanwhile, Dent has captured Gordon's family, claiming Gordon's negligence resulted in Rachel's death. But before he can kill anyone, Batman tackles Dent, who falls to his death. Batman persuades Gordon to hold him responsible and preserve Dent's heroic image, knowing that Batman is the hero Gotham needs, but not the one it needs right now. Maybe check in next week, and then they'll need him then. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of stuff happens in this movie, and I think that's probably one of my main complaints. I know you guys don't like to start with the bad stuff, but I want to start just with this. A lot of stuff happens, and it's kind of confusing. And this is kind of part of like Christopher Nolan's whole deal. Like in all of his movies, you have to take a second and be like, wait, hold on. What's going on? He took the thing over there, and because he had the thing. It's just a bit confusing, especially in the last act. The third act is just like so much stuff is happening.
That's interesting.
That's actually how I watched, when I watched this previously, when I was dumb and younger. I was basically like, I'm present and understanding the major set pieces. Set pieces meaning like the big events in the movie, like the big chase with the semi-trucks, or like the, what's another major set? Oh, like the ferries, that's another set piece. But the connective tissue between the set pieces, which makes them all make sense of like, okay, these are mob banks. They're the ones, they're the last thing where they can launder money through. And that's controlled by Lao, and Lao's in Hong Kong. And then all of that connective tissue, I was just like, zoop. I just like had ADD and zoned out and didn't see any of that before. But now that I've paid attention to all of it, it is all very tight and all there.
No, absolutely. One of the first things I wrote down is that multiple viewings do this film a lot of favors. Whereas, especially like the film opens with the Joker robbing a bank. And having seen the movie before, and I know what's coming, I'm like, oh, which one's Joker? Like, oh, right, that one's Joker.
That mask,
But the first time you see it, you don't really know until he takes off the mask. And if you guys haven't seen the movie, Joker, spoiler alert, Joker kills all the people involved in the...
It's great. I love that.
That's a great opening sequence. It totally sets up that he's a wacky madman. He wears makeup and stuff, but he's like so clever, and he's ruthless, and he kills everybody. In the screenplay, when he puts the grenade in Buddy's mouth, and he's like, "Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger."
Yeah.
He didn't reveal his face at that part of the movie yet. He just said that, but you never saw his face at that point. And,
right.
But it makes way more sense to show his face then and there.
When it's such a good reveal where you're like, oh, this clown guy wearing a mask is also wearing a mask underneath.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. We do see his face there.
We see it
we
there.
do.
I thought you
But
were
in the
saying that
screenplay, we don't.
In the shooting script, it wasn't revealed at that point yet. But you might as well. You already know it's Joker, and it's a way... Well, that's actually the first hokey moment in the movie, too. I'm watching this with my wife. Joker puts this grenade with a string on it into this dude's mouth, and then drives the bus away, and the string's like running out of runway. And then she's like, "Why wouldn't you just spit that out?"
That's
she's
what
like,
I thought
"That's what
too.
these stupid movies, even this one, the most realistic and like accessible one. It's like they always have stupid crap like that."
Honestly, we talked a lot about how Batman Begins the movie tried to place all of this superhero stuff into a real world, and I think it was largely successful. And I think that's what people think of when they think of this movie too, where it's like it's less of a, you know, superpowered people punching each other and toppling buildings in the process, and more of a just like a crime movie, you know, a mob movie where someone has a cape. And I don't think that's entirely true because of moments like this. Like there are so many of these moments where you're just like,
I have a lot of nitpicks and I want to get into it, but I do think that this movie does a really good job of making some of the most unbelievable people kind of real. Like the Joker.
Oh, especially Dent.
Well, yeah, or...
we should definitely talk about that.
But I want to talk about the Joker first.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problems
Definitely
with
the
Dent.
Joker.
Yeah, the fact that like he's a crazy clown...
Yeah.
And somehow like he feels grounded and scary and real. And like any other iteration of the Joker prior to this one has been so over the top goofy. Like the Jack Nicholson one, a lot of people like, but it's like
I think it's because in this one we were given no pretense that he was ever a dude. There's no origin story where he falls in acid and I'm the Joker. He just comes in with some kind of crazy history that we can't even place, like what's true or not.
Yeah.
He comes in with these principles that are sorted out. He's like, this is what I am, and we believe it. Whereas if it's like, oh, I'm a regular crime boss guy who also does this stuff, you're like, no one would do that.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
I think it's
Totally.
interesting that we're doing this movie after No Country for Old Men because both Sugar and Joker are just these agents of chaos. Less real, you know, human characters and more just kind of like stand-ins for the force of anarchy, of entropy.
Yeah.
Entropy embodied.
Yeah. I think like they do such a good job with his character. Like there's all those great moments, like the pencil disappearing and stuff. Like what a good introduction to like how crazy he is. And he just walks into the mob boss meeting and he's like got the grenades and like I love in some ways that he's always one step ahead of everyone. And you're like, well, like you can't predict what he's going to do. He's so clever. He's so smart.
Yeah.
But I also hate that he's always one step ahead of everyone. It feels a little artificial.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
he
little bit
also,
too much.
but he admits himself that that's not because he's so smart and clever. He says to Dent that I'm just a dog chase. I just do things. So like when I set up that you guys are going to be connected to these barrels or something, it worked out really well. But actually, I just picked two people and I was just going to do that anyway.
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
think he's
buy
more.
that.
I think he's trying to convince Dent. Yeah, I don't really buy it either. Like
he is manipulating Dent.
yeah, and he has like he clearly is pretty planning where he gets a school bus to like have perfect timing where he backs out of a record bank and then into a convoy of school buses.
Also,
But, okay,
that
well,
bugs
for
me
example,
so
though,
much.
Yeah, I hated that.
Because no one is swarming around being like, oh my God, this bus backed into this bank.
Yeah.
In the middle of the street.
Yeah.
It goes to the wide shot. It shows people just walking by, totally normal. But like this bus just backed into a building and like
And
there
if-
would be people everywhere.
Yeah, and if Gotham is supposed to be like a parallel of New York, nothing's on time. No bus is on time in New York.
Okay, you
What the
guys.
fuck is this?
But to talk about the Joker and his plans, like for example, when the Joker, it looks like he's gonna get caught, like he planned to get caught when he goes to jail, and then he has that guy set up with the bomb in his stomach. It's like, oh, he wanted us to get caught. But did he really? Because just seconds before, he's standing in the street going, come on, Batman, do it, kill me, run me over and kill me. I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Which means he has all these breadcrumbs around. He's fluid. He's open to changing course. So that's what I mean, where it's like he does just do things.
I think that when he talks about himself being like a dog chasing a bus or something, he wouldn't know what to do with it. I think that's referring more to kind of his overall direction in life. Like he is looking to sow chaos. And so in that sense, his overall purpose is you know, it's like a dog kind of meaninglessly chasing at leaves or whatever. He's just like following his heart. But then when you get down to the nitty gritty level, it's like, okay, the way that he does this is by very methodically planning out all of these things to happen.
He doesn't have an end goal in mind that is very specific.
No,
it's
he's
kind
not-
of the thing. I'll know it when I see it.
yeah,
he's
he's not
like-
writing it thematically, but he has it all planned out.
Right, like he planned the ferry thing, he planned the
or
buildings
like
blowing
having
up.
two people on fire escapes across from each other with zip line or like grappling hooks so that they could block a helicopter that would come stop them. Like, how did he know the exact block where to do it? Like, yeah.
There's a lot of planning going on.
Yeah, that's actually
here.
really weird because he does force them to go and what does he say? Like take the fifth underground, and
which is fine.
He makes
sure.
their course go underground so that it's easier to attack them. But then when they leave that tunnel, it's the cops themselves are like, we need to get topside fast. Like take a right now, and then they're on the surface level, and that's where those helicopter guys are. So unless that is the only or the most logical exit.
I think that the only explanation there is that Joker basically perfectly predicted what the route where the route would go.
Yeah.
And I think the way that I'm thinking about this is twofold. One, it kind of bothers me that as an agent of chaos, he is clearly so orderly in his planning of all these things. Like, he's super in depth. But at the same time, that sort of planning and meticulous forethought is almost necessary in order to cause the amount of chaos that he wants to cause. And if he wasn't that character, then it would be like, the plan shorts out after 1 or 2 phases.
Yeah.
Instead of going through the entire 6 or 7 phases it's crazy.
That's fair. I think this movie deserves multiple watching, but I think we probably all watched it more than it should be watched. This might be the movie I've watched the most in my entire life,
Wow.
20 plus times.
Are you kidding me, David?
No, not even.
I think I've seen it 4 times.
And
2 were this week.
I've told you guys the story, but I got 3 copies of The Dark Knight on Blu-ray for my 17th, 18th birthday, the year it came out.
And you watched all of them back to back.
I sold 2 of them, but I watched it nonstop, and that was pretty early on Blu-ray days. So I didn't have that many.
Oh,
so
man.
I've watched this movie too much. So I'm paying too close attention, but those flaws are there.
I
Well,
feel like
let's
this
talk
might
about
be-
the good things still, though, because I want to push back on Riley, who said that a lot happens in this movie. And I think that is actually a feature, because it all comes down to the fact that Joker and Dent are in this movie. Because they're in this movie together, and I think it's great. I'm not mad that they're all in this movie in the way that I'm mad that Spider-Man 3 has Sandman
And Venom.
and Goblin and Venom tacked
Right.
on. And in that movie, which is not 2.5 hours long, I don't think.
It's 2.5.
No, wait, really? God,
Yeah.
it needed to be longer. They screwed that one up, right? They screwed that one up because Venom is just tacked on at the end. He's
Yeah.
he arrives and spoiler alert, dies so fast.
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, they really integrated everything and they took their time to play it all out.
You know why I think that works?
Why? What works?
May I?
Please.
Having so many characters in it is because you kind of get the triumvirate of the good guys, like Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon and Harvey Dent. And Rachel's the love interest, I guess. Does she actively do anything in this?
A little
Not
bit.
really.
A little bit. But you have those 3 guys versus the Joker. So I think really when you think about it, it's kind of like having 2 main groups. So it's not that confusing.
I think it's a little more complex.
Yeah,
than
I
that.
think
Well,
that-
obviously it's complex, but I'm just saying I think that basically it works out to something like that. So I think that's why it didn't bother me so much to have so many characters.
I think though it's more Batman versus the Joker, and Dent is the needle of how the state of our theme is, how the state of order is, and he's the one that's kind of showing how things are going bad. But then at the end, the people of Gotham prove that no, goodness can win.
I think that Dent actually is the protagonist of this movie. Or at the very least, it's split between Batman and Dent. Because, okay, remember how we talked earlier about, I think on a previous podcast, that I had heard in an interview that David S. Goyer, who has a story credit on this one and a screenwriting credit on Begins, he said that this was a 4-act movie. And that doesn't mean anything to a lot of people. And because act breaks matter in other media. In TV, when an act ends, when an act break occurs, usually you go to commercial.
Right.
And on the stage, usually the curtains are actually drawn, end of act 1, and we're going to do a set change.
Yeah.
But in movies, they're supposed to just be invisible, and you kind of feel them more than you perceive them. But if you're into screenwriting, you actually know when it happens. So in this movie, it's 4 acts instead of the typical 3 acts, and I think that is actually necessary because the way that the progression happens in this movie is you've got 2 protagonists, Batman and Dent, whose storylines crisscross and intertwine. And you just need to have this extra time before you just need this extra time in order to play that out the way that it goes. And that's why to some people it feels like, well, movie's really weird because they catch the Joker and then there's still 20 minutes of movie where the Joker's gone. I thought he was the main bad guy.
I wouldn't even call that another act, though. That's just an extended denouement.
That's right, because that actually is not where the act break is.
Oh, okay.
That's not the act break. No, the way it works is actually really creepy.
Yeah, tell me.
If you take... It's actually not that different than a normal 3-act movie. It's just that some of the things that happen in different places. And here's what's really weird about it. If you take this movie's runtime, divide it by 4, you get 40 minutes. What I did was I watched the movie, and every time something happened in a given scene that was significant, I wrote it down. So I have all these timestamps here, okay? 20 minutes in, Dent expresses willingness to take over for Batman. You can call that the inciting incident of the movie, okay? So if I look at 40 minutes and 80 minutes and an hour and 20, and then near the end, you can see at all of those points, like almost to the minute, you see these huge turning points in the film. So the first one, going from Act 1 to Act 2, that's when the criminals all get arrested by Dent.
Yeah.
And then the criminals are like, damn it, we need to hire the Joker. And then the Joker issues an ultimatum to Batman. Reveal your identity or I start killing people. So from the perspective of Dent, this is the jump into Act 2, which is always like the life will never be the same kind of big moment.
Yep.
This is from Dent's perspective. This is the moment where he takes on way more responsibility as Gotham's White Knight. This is where the mayor tells him, it's on you now. They're all going to come after you. Politicians, the mob, they're all coming after you. And if you're not clean, if you're not just pristine, it's all going to fall apart. And then this, from Batman's perspective, this is the life's never going to be the same because of this ultimatum where you have to reveal your identity or die. And then if you go into like 80 minutes, that's when the end of the semi-truck chase, when you've got that image of Batman colliding head-to-head playing chicken with the Joker. And what happens, the Joker actually defeats Batman. Now,
Yes.
it's a false defeat because Gordon is there.
Yep.
Surprise, Gordon's alive.
Ugh.
And he saves the day.
Yep.
But you could see that as like the decline of Batman.
Yep.
Whereas like the White Knight's kind of going up. And then you get into the hour and 20. This is where the Joker succeeds again and Rachel Dawes gets killed. Yeah, this is the failure of Batman's objective. Batman's objective being to raise Harvey Dent up.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. And Dent's gone. I'm following along here.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And that's it. That gets us into Act 4 where we finally do prevail. So it's basically a series of like, we think we're doing good. Damn it. We're not doing so good. We think we're doing good. Oh no, now Dent's a bad guy.
That's a pretty interesting way to think of it, as in terms of like kind of the like two lines representing Batman and Harvey Dent, kind of like going up and down or whatever. And then at the end, you know, I like the idea of framing it from the perspective of having Harvey Dent as the protagonist, because then it's a tragedy, but it's like a hopeful tragedy because he fails, but the city wins. You know, because the image is preserved.
Yeah. And it has to be a kind of a dual thing with Batman because it's a Batman movie. He gets a lot of screen time. But I think an argument can be made that Dent is a protagonist because of the amount of screen time he gets, the fact that these turning points involve him so deeply. It is just a tragedy, though. Oh, and because he undergoes probably the greatest emotional change. His journey is the greatest.
Yeah.
It's weird to think of it as a tragedy, though, because we know... Oh, okay, well, do we do spoilers for the next one? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we already said that.
Well, just for the initial setup for the next one, we know that this event at the end of this movie kicks off a period of like 7 years of peace in Gotham, where like the criminals are kept on the back foot, and so it's like a hope. I guess at the end of the movie you don't know that, but I think it is very hopeful.
I feel like if we're going into the other movie though, if I find that the next movie kind of undoes it because they say, oh yeah, there was a time of peace, but like really it was just like. Batman just stopped and became an old man.
Well, he didn't need Batman because things were so great.
I don't know. I don't buy it.
Oh,
you don't buy it?
Well, that discussion is for the next episode.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I think
okay.
I love that there's like kind of an alternative structure and that they did it so seamlessly that most people aren't like, oh, this is weird. They just kind of have a different feeling, like in terms of their arc of emotion in this movie.
You can feel that it's weird because there's so many set pieces. Like after that whole chase with the trucks and the Joker conflict, that's the midpoint. And then there's still like so much movie. I was like, when's the Ferry stuff happening? Like there's so much more movie to go.
Yeah.
And if the movie was only an hour 40, that would be near the end. That would have been the final encounter.
For some reason, I thought the Ferry bit was more in like the middle of the movie, but it's right near the end.
It's pretty near the end.
Yeah.
I don't buy Dent. I think that's my biggest flaw with this movie is I don't buy his turn. I think that like if he was so on the edge, he wouldn't have been able to be in the position he was. But so like I don't buy that he was on the edge of constantly turning and all. It took one thing to break him.
I think
and I don't know. I just seems
you don't
like,
think that that's earned or evidenced?
Nah, not really. And like I think the movie tries to do that. And there's that scene where he's interrogating the Arkham inmate, and that's a good foreshadowing for like where he might go, and like you get to meet the coin and stuff. But the turning point when he's in the hospital bed and the Joker comes to him and starts like talking to him, that scene really sucks to me. And like I really don't buy that he just would not shoot the Joker. Like if he's going down this road, playing this flip the coin thing is super artificial, and just because it has to be there because of the comic book, that's not the Harvey Dent that we've been introduced to in this movie.
Okay, well, we know that the Harvey Dent... See, I think about it in two ways, I think. On the one hand, I do believe that it's possible for people who are that idealistic to be swayed to the other side when they, if they encounter things that make them completely disillusioned with what they thought they believed in. So like if you're so into the idea of justice and you're so into the idea of being this white knight and like fixing Gotham up, but then things happen and they destroy that foundation that you were placing all your beliefs on, then it's easy for you to just fall all the way down through that into the bottom where you're just like, nothing matters. So
that's actually kind of true. There's people who have been like, say, like Ku Klux Klan members,
Totally.
who then pivot to being. They try to convert you out of it, and they devote their life to that, like the complete 180.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's believable, but at the same time, I think I agree with you a little bit that the movie didn't do quite enough work for my tastes in showing us that journey. We saw a little bit, like it's not so much of a snap, like a snap turn. We saw a little bit when he like captures Joker's goon. Like the guy who's dressed like a cop.
Hold on, can we just like pause on that guy for a second?
Yeah.
That guy is so sick. That actor is David Dasmalchian.
Yeah.
And he plays a creepy guy in so many movies. And he's
got that
Coco
perfect-
in Blade Runner 2049.
Yep.
Like the the morgue dude.
Yep.
He's
Right.
in Prisoners. Have you seen Prisoners?
I haven't seen Prisoners.
Oh, he's creepy in that movie. And he's actually in Dune.
Oh,
he's
nice.
He's going to be
Great.
Piter in Dune. But the thing that's funny about him is he plays these characters, and I saw a podcast with him. He's such a normal dude.
He's got that face, man. He's got a perfect face for just like a creepy weirdo guy. Like, sorry, dude, but it's gotten you work, so good for you, you know? So we see it a little bit there in his confrontation there, where it's like we see him starting to crack a little bit. But then Batman comes and he's like, hey, this isn't you, this isn't good. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
But he's not like, oh, yeah, you're right. He actually yells at Batman in that scene.
Well, sure.
He's like, you can't give in.
Yeah.
For some reason, he feels like he needs Batman to not capitulate, not hang up the cowl, and continue it on. I think it's because of his own, like he wants to be Gotham's White Knight, but he doesn't really believe in himself.
Well, I think he knows that like the system won't allow him to really clean it up without Batman. Like he can't get Lau without Batman. He can't actually have the reach he needs to fix things without this extrajudicial fuck. He needs to have a tool that exists outside of the law, and he knows that. And I think that's why he needs Batman.
I also I think that's why the structure of those three guys, the three good guys, are so cool to me, because Batman's outside the law, Harvey Dent's inside the law, and Jim Gordon kind of is like the muscle of it, right? Like he like represents the actual soldiers or the militia, the police.
I feel like Gordon's a little underutilized in this movie, and I mean like it's not about him, so it's fine. He's like a side character, and there's the trio of people that are really at the center of it all.
Yeah.
They use him a little bit thematically after the encounter with the Joker, where he's revealed Gordon's revealed to still be alive. He then goes to his family, and Barbara slaps him, and then he tucks his son in. And his son says something like, did Batman save you?
Yeah, that's cool.
And he says, no, this time I saved him. And I think what that is trying to show us is, we've talked before about how characters oscillate in their ability to get what they want in a movie. So in this case, if the dramatic question of the movie is, will Gotham succeed in getting a long-term solution? Then in that quest, Gotham is oscillating. And at this moment, you're seeing, okay, here's a situation where it was Gordon who saved the day, the police, not Batman.
Right.
And so this is an example of Gotham having a long-term solution that doesn't require this guy who's outside the law.
I think though, a lot of that stuff is kind of undone by the like incredulity I feel watching like Gordon fake his own death. And like there's an explanation and he's like, sorry, Barbara, I couldn't tell you, like I wanted to keep you safe. But like there has got to be a better way to like fake your own death.
What do you mean
like,
fake your own death? He took a bullet for somebody and then just inconvenience. They were like, why don't you just say you died?
Oh, you think it was like an improvised
I think it was
thing?
an improvised thing, but like
Yeah, no, that had to be improvised.
He took a legit bullet.
Yeah. But that's the
you
thing
gotta
about
let
the movie.
your wife,
I don't know.
You gotta let your wife know, man.
Even on the third or
It's
fourth
fucked.
watch, I'm like, yeah, see that I agree with you, David. You gotta tell your wife
gotta
everything.
tell your wife.
Okay, that's relationships.
But he doesn't know who can trust all around him. So if he tells Barbara and then Barbara doesn't know and she tells Ramirez, then it's all over.
No, but you can trust your wife not to tell people.
No, I can
Or is
understand.
Barbara gossip?
I can understand how like
Chatty
but, like,
Barbie.
You know what I don't understand is why someone would suspect that Gordon wasn't dead. Also, why? Wait. Now we're getting into this. Why did Gordon need to fake his own death?
I don't really know why that's in the movie at all. I think if it's just like, let's just add in a little spice. Like,
Oh, we found something.
Yeah, I think it's more of that. And I think like it's justifiable because all these important police figures are being assassinated. And so he can follow the train and be like, I'll be the next in the line, or I'll be 2 steps down the line. So I need to protect myself now. But I think it is more of a screenwriting thing where we're like, we have to have a little
It makes the payoff
surprise.
better when Batman gets saved.
It's true.
Yes.
Because you really don't expect him to get saved because there's no one who can save him. But surprise, Gordon can save. Because if you knew Gordon was there the whole time, you're like, and Gordon's going to save him. But because they took that line, they say he's dead. It's interesting to look at what they do from a screenwriting perspective of how to dangle that kind of carrot in front of us. So Gordon's driving the whole time with a mask on. And in his passenger seat is this dude who just does all this commentary. This other cop who he goes, drive faster. Oh no, they got a bazooka? He just makes all these like funny comments, right? But that guy's comments are often directed at this driver character. He tells him step on it and stuff. So it just keeps us bringing our attention back to this character. Why do we care about this guy?
Yeah.
He keeps bringing it back. Remember, this guy exists. So that when the reveal happens, there's like context and it makes sense.
No, I like the way that they did that. Although I think that even on I think this is my maybe fourth watch. And even on this time, I was like, who's the driver again? And I thought he was like an undercover Joker driver. And I'm like, does the Joker driver know that he's about to be RPG'd like by the bazooka?
Well, he doesn't get RPG'd because the Batmobile takes a bullet for Dent.
Does
right,
the
right.
Batmobile have like springs in its
What's
wheels?
up with that, hey?
That was weird.
What do you mean?
Because like I can understand the
That's
tumbler
the jumper feature.
I know, but how does it work?
Yeah, they don't.
It's got the rocket booster on the back.
Yeah,
It,
but
like,
on the back that goes forward.
yeah, it pops up the front wheels and then it goes forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Sure. It doesn't matter. It's one of those like the notepicks. I really this time watching it, I found that scene.
Can we stay on this for 1 second?
Yeah,
sure. There's one other thing that happens with the Gordon thing, which is also kind of nuanced, which is when they're telling people that he's dead, they only say he's gone. He's gone. They never say dead until they do once. Dent says it. Dent actually does say like Gordon is dead, but that is only just minutes before it's revealed that he's not.
That's so
so
funny.
they just mess with the audience.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is like that's like kids cartoon type stuff.
Yeah.
Where they're like, he's going to destroy us instead of kill us. Like they're gone.
Gone to a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I have a few problems with that underground scene. First is like, so the Joker has set up that fiery blockade. There is so much room on both sides they could have gone around.
They totally could have, but I like it because it builds the tension of that scene.
100%.
It's such a eerie omen because it's not just like a bunch of cars on fire.
Yeah.
It's a fire truck. It's creepy.
Totally, I think it's
symbolism.
Again, this is
It's just
like
Gotham's finest.
Yeah, this is a symbol of society.
this is view like 20 for me. So like I was looking at all the side streets, being like, what's actually the best route? And like they could have gone across the street back onto the path. Like there was a whole lot of paths.
That's
Doesn't
true.
matter.
That's true.
But when they go underground, it's real slow.
What is slow? The action?
Chase. It's so like
I kinda
they're
like
going
that, though.
20 miles an hour.
Oh, you mean just
Yeah, the way
speed wise?
because like they had to shoot it, and like I get it, but like I found it the way they were moving. I was like, this driver's really not trying to get away.
I didn't get that feeling. It felt fast to me. I think that them being underground kind of gave it like a claustrophobic feel. So I think, well, okay, the music is going there, but like when I remember in my mind, there are like more chill moments almost where it's like there's these punctuated bits of violence where they're shooting the guns or firing the bazooka or whatever.
Yeah.
But in between, there's some shots of the cars just kind of going and like waiting for the moment to strike or whatever. And them being underground like kind of gives it that tension. I don't know. I like it.
You might also take for granted the characterization of the Joker. Like I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and so much of it was like every scene with the Joker just made you love the Joker so much more. And Ledger's performance is so like rich with like the way he holds the gun, the way he shoots so lazily. When he gets the bazooka, when he pulls his head out of the car window and his hair is going in the wind, like all of that stuff just made all those sequences so much better.
Man,
Totally.
go ahead.
No, I always love that performance, but I've grown to appreciate it so much more. It's you don't see Heath Ledger and like you can pause and be like, yeah, there's Heath Ledger, but he's the Joker. He really does embody it.
Yeah. I think particularly after seeing Joker, the movie, with Joaquin Phoenix, I just appreciate this Joker so much more because he's just, I don't know, like just looking at him, he's just very compelling. Like there's a reason why Many people think this is the best Joker
There's a
performance.
reason why this was everyone's Halloween costume that year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like in particular how he's so dark, but still there are all of these moments that are humorous.
Yeah.
But like in a really dark way.
way.
Like I think one of my main complaints, we never released a Joker podcast, did we?
No.
Well, one of my main complaints about that movie was the fact that there's only really like one or two parts that are actually funny. And one of them is like so dark that it's almost like you feel really bad laughing. But this one there's a bunch of dark humor that is dark, but also, I don't know. I don't feel bad for laughing at it. Yeah.
When he sits down in front of Harvey and he's like, hi.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, it's so good. Or like
The pencil, obviously.
Yeah, Gordon becomes Commissioner Gordon, and everyone's clapping, and then he's just like,
Yeah.
Or when he says that he like killed 6 of that cop's buddies, and he's like, he mouths the word 6. He's like, ooh,
yeah.
ooh, 6. Like, I remember the whole theater just laughing so many times.
When he's at when he crashes the party and he's like, what's her name? Rachel says like, hey, we're not afraid of you or whatever. And he's like, oh, and he's like, he slicks his hair back like he's gonna approach and like be suave and stuff. I was just like, oh, this is like, it's so creepy, but it's so great.
I think the greatest strength of this Joker is the mystery that shrouds him.
Yeah.
Because like you have so many questions. Like you said, like you don't know where he comes from. He makes up all these great stories, but like this mystery, I think covers so many things that like in another movie you'd be like, yeah, that's kind of too much. That's whatever. And I mean, I'm doing it right now, but like on the first 5 watches, you're just like, who is this guy? Why is he so this way? Why is it this? And the mystery covers a multitude of sins.
Yeah, and I love how he gives, obviously, you know, it's well known, he gives multiple explanations for his backstory, but I feel like him giving these multiple fake backstories makes me imagine him as a real person better. Because I'm like, what kind of things would happen to a person that would make them this deranged?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like filling in those things. And like, I love that they didn't go with something like, oh, it fell in a vat of acid or something, because that one's the lamest one to me, where it's like, I was a normal guy and then I fell in a vat of acid and then I was crazy.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that this guy just has had such a fucked up life that this is what he does now.
Yeah. Well, and it really goes to make it feel like this is a whole movie about the soul of Gotham. And it's like, Joker is born of the soul of Gotham. He's not a human that happened to be in Gotham. He is of Gotham.
He's like a manifestation of its spirit.
I love that. And it really goes to make it feel more this movie does kind of feel mythological in some ways.
Well, he's only one aspect of Gotham's soul, though, because he tries in the Ferry scene to, get off the bench, get in the game, get all of Gotham involved in wreaking this chaos. And as Batman says, he fails at that. Gotham proves him wrong and doesn't engage with it.
I like the Ferry scene, and like there's moments in it that I love. Like I love when the big prisoner walks up. He's like give me the thing. I'll do what you should have did hours ago.
Yeah.
And he throws it out the window right away. And everyone like they go in their prayer circle. I'm like, that's a money moment. That's such like a nice,
it's so good
moment. But
did you say it's a prayer circle?
They go into a little prayer huddle.
Like he goes back to his friends and they huddle around each other.
You know that guy who's like that bald guy who's like really like, we should let's talk about it. That guy.
Fine, I'll do it.
He's one of like the main citizens in that Ferry.
Yeah.
And then there's another kind of tertiary guy who like only says 1 or 2 things and the camera's not as close to him.
Yeah.
But that third guy almost looks like he auditioned to be the main one. He's also bald. I think he's wearing the same color coat and tie and everything. It's like, that's bad. Like usually movies, they don't do that. They have like one character has a redhead, one character has a beard, and it's really visually easy to.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they would use 2 very, very similar characters for those speaking roles.
I really think that he was like the backup, and they just used them both or something.
He looked like a Chris Evans stunt double.
I think I have a kind of a problem with that section of the movie in that I think the Ferry event is a great exploration of the theme of like what is like the good versus evil, the chaos versus order, and like how inside of all of us we have this decision, and like the bad people can make the right decision and the good people can make the wrong decision but not have the strength to follow through. Like there's a lot of kind of good little stuff, but the fact that it's so separate from what Batman and the Joker are doing really bothers me.
The ferry thing, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like in Spider-Man where Spider-Man shows up on the ferry.
On the ferry, yeah, and it's not like they're like meeting on. It's not like Batman's having the showdown with these people.
It's a remote confrontation.
It's a remote thing, and like Batman is having this kind of okay thing, and like I really like the little detail that the Joker has the hostages in the doctor outfits and the hostages in the Joker stuff. So like, it's like that's good, whatever, a little bit of chaos. But that whole sequence is like, okay, we need like epic fight stuff.
Oh man,
to like amp up the intensity to also match this emotional intensity of the ferry stuff, but it's not connected at all.
Did you guys? Okay, wait.
There is a reason for that. There is a reason for that.
tell me.
When Batman is fighting the SWAT, it is an expo of him playing by its own rules. So that is thematically it does work because it's saying this is the end of the movie. I can keep my principles. I don't need to become, because earlier he's like, Rachel, I'm out because I've seen what I need to be to fight men like this.
Yeah.
And then here at the end, we're like, no, I can keep my principles and my rules, and I can just do all these non-lethal attacks on these SWAT members and still succeed and still defeat the Joker.
I guess so. I guess that was never. I don't find it satisfying because like that. I never felt like that was really at play with Batman.
There is like a
he's never gonna kill anybody.
I feel like that's a bit of a throwaway line. Like I think that's important thematically, but my problem with it I think is that when he says that to Rachel, it's kind of a throwaway line.
What's a throwaway line?
Like, I've seen. I don't know. I don't want to become the type of person I need.
No,
to be
dude, this is not a throwaway line. This is stated multiple times in the movie. Earlier than that, when he's talking to his reflection character Alfred says they have that whole discussion of like Batman has no limits.
Yes.
Batman says that, and he's like, well, then what's going to happen the day you find out what your limits are?
Yeah, but is that the same thing?
And then yes, it is. And then later on when Joker's like, you have nothing to threaten me with because you have these stupid rules.
But how is that confrontation like facing his limits? I don't get that. Because like taking down SWAT dudes and freeing hostages, that's a normal day for Batman.
If you're thinking of his limit as like a line that he would cross and then he would be bad, like he's killing people or something, then that's a limit, I guess.
Yeah, I don't feel like that sequence is testing his limits.
Okay, well, here's another aspect to it.
Let's try this one.
How do you like this? The whole movie, like it ends with he's the Dark Knight. I love Gotham hates him, but it doesn't matter. That's what they need from him.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's cool.
This is him fighting cops the first time, really.
Yep.
He has to fight. Get used to it, buddy. I'm the Dark Knight. This is what he fights. He fights them all. So at least that's in play.
I agree with that.
I like that the establishment of that dynamic. It does feel a bit strange at the beginning when like Jim. Well, like what is it? They show it at a crime scene, and Jim Gordon's like, "Hey guys, can we give Batman a second so he can like drill out this brick or something?"
Before your team contaminates.
Yeah, before your team contaminates. And the cops are right there. They're like, "Oh, Batman's here." It felt weird because like a big part of the Batman mythology, I think, is the fact that the cops are supposed to like arrest him or whatever, and his alliance with Jim Gordon is more sort of like a under the table type thing. But this was like so explicit that it's just,
he always has the bat signal on top of MCU.
Yeah, and
he's got the bat signal.
When there's the wreckage of the building that Rachel was in, there's a bunch of cops and firefighters there, and he's just brooding and grabbing sand and throwing it and stuff.
What?
Well, everyone's divided. Everyone's divided on it. It's from the opening. The first dialogue you hear in the movie is that newscast of saying like, "Hey, Mayor, you said you platformed on the fact that you're going to clean up the city, and a lot of people think you haven't because we're still allowing this vigilante to operate."
I want to go back to the ferries in the building for a second because that was one of the main reasons. I started off this podcast talking about how it's kind of like confusing and disorienting, and that was one of the main reasons that sequence, that whole act, sort of. Because we got the ferries going on, and like you say, David, it kind of feels almost like they were like, let's have this like philosophical trolley problem type of situation where it's like, what if you had two ferries, one was filled with civilians and one was filled with prisoners, and they could both destroy each other. Yeah. It's literally the prisoner's dilemma.
It's literally, yeah.
But with ferries involved and explosives, and so it feels a little bit removed from the main conflict, as you say, and then the building thing itself, man, that whole building sequence is just so, especially because they add in all these shots of the sonar thing. That is so annoying. Like, I don't know. Every time it switches to the sonar view, I'm just like, stop it.
Is it helping Batman or is it only hindering?
Yeah. Because like at one point he's like trying to see where like, oh, there's people over there, and he like flips the things down on his eyes so he can see, but he's looking for the Joker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, You're not going to see the Joker. It's like way
Fox
harder
is-
to see what those things
That
are.
guy doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah. Well, and Fox is still like telling you exactly where people are. It's like one or the other. You don't need both.
Yeah. Also, how are they mapping out that whole building when on that floor where no one is? Because no one's there with cell phones. The dogs have cell phones.
The microphones in cell phones are very special in this universe. It's a little excessive.
And the other thing I want to say about the Ferry thing is that it's completely unrealistic. They'd blow each other up. One of them would blow each other up. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Especially when the cops on the prisoner boat, the cops and the prisoners are like shoulder to shoulder. There's no division between cops.
Yeah,
and
someone would have started a
It's
riot.
really
Like,
weird.
it is a Batman movie, and honestly, like, you know, these Batman and Superman movies, they can't get too dark, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, obviously they're going to survive, but like, that wouldn't, no.
It feels like a little
Somebody
too
would grab
feel
it.
good.
Somebody would grab it and
Yeah, it's a little too
Yeah.
feel good.
We haven't really talked about Bruce that much in this movie. And I think it's interesting to chart the change in his character from the first one, because the first one is a journey from kind of being this naive person who wants to start something, wants to clean up the city, and he becomes this symbol, and he goes through, you know, it's a coming of age story in large part. And this is sort of the adolescence of the Batman trilogy here. And I think it's like a really interesting lesson that he learns from Alfred and from the Joker, that like, early on, he thinks that criminals are all simple. He's like, oh, they all just want money. You know, it's like they're a simple animal. I can figure it out because I'm so smart. And Alfred kind of tells him this story about this bandit that he was like looking for in Burma.
Yeah.
And you know, that the moral of that story is that some people don't care about something concrete. Some people can't be understood. Some men just want to watch the world burn. So many iconic lines in this movie.
Yeah.
So great. And yeah, Batman learning that is an interesting journey to me.
Yeah.
Especially because Joker is so good at portraying this sort of just like unfeeling, irrational, just destruction.
It bothers me a little bit that Michael Caine tells a story and Bruce asks, he's like, well, how did you catch him? Well, we burnt the whole forest down.
Yeah, I know, right?
And then, no, he doesn't have to do that.
It's just a cool line.
Yeah, it's just a cool line.
I thought about that myself.
Yeah, Batman has the Big Brother tech. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Batman's in control. We good.
Yeah, that's a bit. You're right. That is a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
That seems to be the moral of the story. And then how does Batman beat Joker? With a fancy sonar gadget.
I want to talk about that.
He did burn down the forest. If the forest is people's individual rights that are being trespassed upon.
It's interesting. The sonar stuff never was awesome, even back in the day. And I think because kind of surveillance through our cell phones has become a more important topic, the fact that it's not really explored in this movie feels weird.
It's just there to be this for the at what cost moment.
Yeah.
Do you remember how that was a meme, by the way? Do any of you remember that?
What?
At what cost was a huge meme after this for the whole summer. People were just like saying that all the time on forums, like as a response to anything.
At what
Was this the first movie that said at what cost?
I don't know. It was just the Morgan Freeman delivery of it. It just became
Yeah.
a huge meme that summer.
I love it. What do you guys think of the line when Bruce, after the first scene, when he's been bitten by the dog and he gets like the upgraded armor and he's like, how will this do against dogs? And he's
the
like,
cats thing?
yeah, like, is that a foreshadowing to Catwoman?
That's just a little fan service illusion.
Yeah,
that
I guess so.
was unneeded.
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
it was weird. Especially because there is the Catwoman in the next one.
I didn't even think of that as an allusion to Catwoman. I was just kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. I thought it was funny.
It's not the worst line. There's other lines I hate more now that we're doing this.
Yeah, please.
Scarecrow in this movie, I guess they needed to tie up a loose end from the first one, but he sucks. Like his lines are brutal, and when
it's a little too
when he's
much.
like, I don't need help, and then Scarecrow's like, not my diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, it's a
I
little
thought
bit
that was
much.
kind of cool. I was going to say, I really like that opening. Well, it's not the opening scene. What is it? The second scene or something? Because I was kind of like, this really makes me feel like we're in the Batman universe. Like, I feel like the first one, they kind of had to sell the idea that this is Gotham to you, right? And so I think that's maybe why the first one feels almost more like a real world story that also has Batman in it. But this one, it opens right up, and we're like, okay, Batman's starting to build his pantheon of villains here. There's the Scarecrow. He's still out there. You know, now he's got the Joker. Oh, now
Yeah.
we're adding Two-Face to the thing. I mean, he dies, but
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I kind of wish they didn't kill Two-Face. I feel like I get it because like if you start to have a pantheon of villains, then it's impossible to make your movie feel grounded in the way that The Dark Knight does.
Right.
Like if in the background of the city there's a Two-Face, there's a Bane, there's this, there's that.
That's cartoonish.
It's cartoony, yeah, by its very nature. I have a big What do you guys think of the him being able to reconstruct the thumbprint from the shrapnel of a bullet in a wall?
That's just a Batman-y thing.
You know,
I'm just
honestly,
okay.
I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but at the same time, I was like, well, theoretically, if he could reconstruct the fragments in like 3D space and like get their whole measurements.
Yeah, but it has something to do with machine learning or something though, because he does all these test bullets. He shoots sets up and shoots 4, and then he finds this one's kind of. He like trains the algorithm based on that. And then reconstruct.
I like that detail that they added a little bit extra. It's
whatever.
not just like a bat scanner that goes up against the wall and is able to do it.
But even if it is, it's like, whatever. That's part of it is that he's a rich guy with access to crazy tools.
Yes,
so.
But they also have to make you believe in that tech. And
like
I think
if this was an Arkham Asylum game.
Yeah, he would just have a vision
scanner.
mode. It would just
So the whole reason he's doing that is to identify who the Joker is, right? He wants a fingerprint from the Joker.
No, whose fingerprint is that?
It's the Joker. Okay, Batman is standing on a building listening to a police radio. He hears the Joker say something, and he'll find Harvey Dent at this address. They go to that address. There's 2 guys who are dead. Their 2 names together make Harvey Dent. But they were shot. The bullet is from that room, so whoever shot them is either the Joker or working with the Joker. Yeah. So he takes a fingerprint from that, and that allows him to find the room later on where the parade sniping post is set up.
Yeah. With all the dudes.
Honestly, this is the type of stuff that I think that Christopher Nolan could just pare down a bit in his script.
I don't mind that
The thing
stuff.
is, though, the reason why it's like requires that explanation is because they've made it so concise. There's even Harvey and Rachel getting kidnapped is off screen.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that's off screen because it's like this could have been a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Take out this stuff about the finding the fingerprint on the bullet stuff and just show Harvey and Rachel getting kidnapped. I don't know.
But they needed a scene.
Honestly, dude.
They needed the parade scene. The parade scene is where Gordon gets shot. It's where they find out that Dawes is the next victim. That's why Dent gets in the ambulance and kidnaps a guy. So like, how do you get there?
You've like, I don't know whether you looked all this up or whatnot, but like when you were just describing why he showed up at the crime scene where the 2 guys' names meant like added up to Harvey Dent, and then he figures out that the fingerprint is involved somehow, and it's either the Joker or someone, and that's why he goes to the room where the guys are. I'm like, I didn't get any of that watching the movie.
I watched it twice in 2 days.
Okay, well, fair enough, but that's like, but it shouldn't take 2 subsequent viewings in order to pick up on that stuff.
Sure, but this is why I'm saying my first viewing didn't have this connective tissue. Yeah. In my first viewing, all you see is now they're on the parade, now they're on the boat.
Exactly, and I think
that's
that's
enough.
I think that's a weakness. I think that when you watch a movie multiple times and more things are revealed to you, it's like, okay, cool, but when you are confused the first time and you just like, I don't know why we're here, but I guess I'm just gonna go along with it.
So you haven't even seen Tenet. This is exactly Tenet.
I haven't seen Tenet.
This is exactly the same thing. Where no spoilers for Tenet here, but it's the same thing where it's like, I bet if I watch this a couple more times, I'm gonna understand more. But right now, I'm just kind of hanging on.
I'm excited because that's coming out in December on streaming. Is that the main reason why you didn't like it, David?
What?
Is it how complicated and stupid it was?
This is not the Tenet podcast.
This is not the Tenet podcast.
Why don't you go listen to our Tenet episode?
Okay.
Do you know what I really hate in this movie? Is the game of chicken that the Joker and Batman play, and that Batman just sucks. Like,
what do you mean?
He just like goes right at him, and then like he's got like the most agile, most high tech motorcycle in the world, and he can't like.
So you're talking about the second game of chicken?
Yeah.
The first one is Semi versus Batpod.
Yeah.
And Batman like uses a cable to flip the semi
that's
truck.
great. That's
the second
awesome.
one is Joker just standing there, a man, and Batman going.
Yeah, I think that's so cheesy. And
really?
Like, it goes to serve the theme of like a movable object versus unstoppable force. Like that's a good visual for that.
It's also a visual of Batman's rules. I can't just run you down and kill you.
Totally, but it's also like this Batman just got like he just lost like 50 intelligence points compared to where he normally is.
No. I think that so this is really the first time that he's having a physical confrontation with the Joker, right? So like I think that he's heard about him so many times. He's been in the shadows, and finally he's at this physical this actual confrontation. And I don't know. It sold it to me that I was like, it's kind of wild. Like and he's thinking in that moment, he's like, this is it. Do I compromise my philosophy here? Do I go back on my morals or not? And he's like going through this moral quandary in his head as he's playing this game of chicken.
That's why he does something stupid, because he's really grappling with it. If
he is human.
He's
not human.
Because this much of him, he's this close to actually killing the guy, and that's why he has to just move at the last second instead of doing something like reasonable.
This is what's so interesting about the Christopher Nolan Batman movies is that in my mind, this is not the same Batman as the comics. In the comics, I would get upset if Batman did that.
Sure.
But we are seeing Batman go through all of these things for the first time. So I'm like, obviously he's going to make some mistakes, you know?
Maybe.
He's testing the limits of what he can do as Batman.
Yeah.
Like he said, coming of age, he's like, cool, I've created this thing called Batman. And in this movie, it's like, how far can I go with Batman?
Yeah.
What are the bounds of Batman's capabilities?
The Batman we see in the animated series or in even the Justice League, the Zack Snyder one, that Batman has been through some shit. Like he is the Batman that we know and love. He's a detective, he's a genius, he's a ninja. This guy's just Bruce Wayne. He's just Christian Bale.
Sure.
You know?
Okay, you guys explain that away. Explain to me why Harvey Dent has a flesh-colored suit.
Oh yeah, fuck it.
He's an attorney,
I will
not
say,
a fashion
one
expert.
of my hokey moments is his face in the gasoline when he knocks his chair over and he's laying in the gasoline. It's like, dude, can we just show him plank for like 2 seconds? Can we show him lift his head off the ground for like 2 seconds?
Yo.
I agree he can't do that for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But can he just try and then get exhausted and then put his head in the gas?
100%.
Totally.
He's just like.
No, this is a great example of another thing that bugs me about the movie is Aaron Eckhart. Like, there are times where he does as idealistic Harvey Dent. I think he's really good.
I agree.
But I think as he starts to go dark, I'm just like I believe him less and less and less. Especially when he's yelling.
Yeah, 100%.
He's bad at yelling.
Yeah.
Really? I
He just
like
can't
him.
do it. He's like, no, this isn't. You're supposed to be doing this. It's
I like
no,
him.
come on, man. I don't know. Like,
I'll tell you the scene I don't like him. One of his first scenes where it's like him in the courtroom
Yeah.
and the guy pulls a gun on him.
oh, that's awesome.
I hate that scene.
Oh,
Is so cheesy.
I love the cheese.
It's a corny
I love the
scene.
It's
man.
super cheesy, but I think that serves so well to establish him as this very idealistic white knight character, right? Like we need the best of us.
When he's like a superhero of the law.
yeah.
That he disarms them and he's like, oh, I wasn't done.
Yeah, and then he's
But Your Honor.
yeah, that. And then he's like, like 9mm hollow tip bullets. Like,
Made in China.
I recommend you buy American. It's like,
So good.
You're right. It doesn't really belong in this movie,
Come
but it's
on.
so funny.
I think that cheesiness serves to kind of sell his complete. As I was saying, when you're that idealistic, you can fall to the dark side more easy.
Fair enough. And I mean, like, again, it works when you're just going with a movie. And I think that's just like, if you're not thinking about it too hard, if you're not like watching it for the millionth time, all these things are like, it's pretty smooth and it guides you there.
And what I will say in defense of the coin thing,
Yes.
is that at the very least it kind of goes along with his idea of like justice, where like the Joker convinces him that, oh, you want justice? The only real justice is chance, because you're not gonna.
I don't buy that though. I don't buy that he would
Well, he
lose
says-
all his values.
When he says fair, he's like 50-50, fair.
but it's not fair. He killed his wife. Like, I don't know.
Of course it's not fair because
know.
we aren't psychopaths, but
he killed whose wife?
but you could.
Or Rachel, his wife to be.
no, you're talking about the.
But if
the
you're like,
Joker.
hey, you like justice, you like fairness, what's fairer than 50-50?
And I like that it's a departure. He did his coin, and he himself didn't operate that way before the accident,
Yeah.
before the event, because it was a double-headed coin, and he made his own
Yeah,
luck.
yeah.
And now he changes.
I have a problem with that. A 50-50 isn't fair. He's fought and learned and educated himself his whole life
Yeah.
for the law, which is about finding the truth,
But
not
now-
about chance, not about
Yeah, but-
like fair. It's about like finding what's right, what's wrong, and like using a system of beliefs, laws.
David,
But he's a
rules.
different person now.
I
But I don't believe that he
He's
is a different
Two-Face.
I completely agree with you.
I like the way that they set up that name, but
Yeah.
I don't buy the full transformation.
I completely agree with your logic here. Your argument makes complete sense. And obviously, we can all agree, among civilized people, that 50-50 isn't really fair. But this guy has just gone through something horribly traumatic.
Sure.
He's experienced extreme bodily harm. Who knows what it's done to his actual mental capacity even.
Sure.
So I
yeah.
kind of buy it.
I love when the
wanna know-
Joker walks in and he just like flails.
Yeah.
He's tied down. He's That's amazing.
You want to know what real trauma would be when Batman exits the party that the Joker is taken over and doesn't come back, and it's just you and the Joker
I was thinking about
left.
that too.
Oh, it's off screen again.
Yeah, but what happened?
And you're just supposed to guess that like the Joker pieces off, I
He's
guess,
like-
because he's like, oh, the cops know we're here now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, he's looking for Harvey, and Harvey's not there.
That's the type of stuff we don't get in a Christopher Nolan movie because there's no time. Because he's squeezed
Yeah,
in
but, like,
all of his
wouldn't he-
little
it's
tiny.
very
Why didn't he
dense.
take the dad? Why didn't he like do something? I don't know.
Because he wouldn't know what to do if he caught one.
I love. Nice. I love Christopher Nolan. I wish that he would. He needs another edit on. Like he needs another guy to just go on an edit.
Yeah, this is
pass.
Tenet all over again. Can we spend? You guys indulge me here. One more second, just hammering home some arc points for Dent.
Yes. Sure.
How it's just so cool. I think that one of the first big moments, like the inciting incident for this movie, is actually a scene that you might just go, huh? And that's when Wayne and Dent and Dawes and the Russian ballerina are having a dinner, because this is the scene where you see Dent say that he really likes what Batman's doing, because in Rome, in a time of duress, the city would elect one person to have all this power. And that's what Batman is. And he speaks as a citizen. We voted for Batman, and he holds up Batman in that regard. But this is the counterpoint is given, I think, by Dawes, actually by both women there, who say that Caesar held on to the power.
Yeah.
And he was the last, he became an emperor. And that's why Batman is not a permanent solution in Gotham. And that's why we need to have the White Knight. And this is the we talked about in the hero's journey kind of movies. This is the debate section where are you going to answer the call or not?
Yeah.
So they're saying to him, you need to be this White Knight. And then by the end of the conversation, he's like, well, if I'm up to it, maybe I can be.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the journey is oscillating whether or not he can be, which I think that's super cool.
I'm glad you brought up that scene because that also stuck out to me as like a really important scene.
Yeah.
And it also gives you, it helps you understand the themes more. Whereas like, I think maybe not just after that point, but as the movie goes on, things get kind of more and more dense and more muddy. And I'm like, wait, who's supposed to be who and who's the good guy and who's the bad, what's going on? That scene just lays it out so clearly. And that's why I think that the movie overall has a very mythological feel, because we have these ideas of the White Knight and the Dark Knight and chaos.
But to me, David, that scene also makes Dent's turn more believable, because he's establishing that he's not so against this powerful guy, Batman, having all that kind of power. And then later on, when he's interrogating Buddy, and then he says Batman, like, no, you can't give in, you have to. He kind of like idolizes that. So like he's not that he idolizes it, but he doesn't think it's such a bad thing.
I think with what I took away from that scene though is that, like, to me, the question that Dawes poses is like, well, what happens if they don't relinquish power? But we know Batman wants to relinquish power, and so like I don't know that like dilemma doesn't really play into what's going on. I really like that scene, and I love how much Bruce admires Dent in that scene. But again, it just feels like it's like one kind of loose end, kind of just like it kind of fits, but it's like, and there's a lot of that. It's just,
there's actually that reminds me of another contradiction that I wrote down, which is so weird to me. We haven't really talked about Dawes very much, Rachel.
No.
Wayne and Rachel have a scene where he's like, remember when you told me if I wasn't Batman, we can get together and all that? Well, I don't want to be Batman anymore. I want Harvey to take over, and I'm going to be out. Are you going to be there for me? Sweet. Like, can we do this? Then, like, not very long later, she writes a letter, which he never gets to read. But in the letter, she says, I can see that you, even if Gotham doesn't need Batman, you will always need Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, why do you think that? He just told you the opposite of that.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, it is a bit confusing about where Rachel's what do you call that? Love lies. Like, oh, does she like Bruce or does she like Harvey? And the thing I left out of the synopsis is that she writes that letter to Bruce saying that because Harvey's asking her to marry him, like, please, 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 and she's like, oh, I'm not ready, I don't know, and I think she does tell Bruce at some point, like, hey, if you when you're ready to stop being Batman, I'll be with you.
Well, she also says this confusing line. She says, if you turn yourself in, they're not going to let us be together.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
No, she's playing both sides, man. She's trying to keep her bases loaded,
And Wayne knows. He knows, because when they're at that scene with the ballerina at the dinner table, he sees Harvey put his hand on Rachel's hand, and then the camera zooms in on that hand and then tilts up, and we see Christian Bale staring at it.
Yeah.
Like, We all know that he knows.
Well, I don't think he knows. I think he's kind of like, huh? And I think he feels the urgency of it, which is partially why I think he wants Harvey Dent to take over so that he can stop being Batman and then like secure her, right? But then at the end, she writes that letter being like, no, I will marry Harvey because like, you know, you're Batman. And
He friend zones her.
You're never gonna not be Batman.
She friend zones
It's the
him.
same thing that happens in the first one.
No, she says in her letter, even if you stop being Batman, I'll
Yeah.
be there for you as a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, you're right. It's not the exact same thing. Yeah.
I think that recast is great though. Maggie Gyllenhaal is an excellent actor.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
so much better, man. She can do so much. It's crazy.
You care way more about her, I think, than you do Katie
Even
Holmes.
just like the little things, like when Joker's kind of walking around her with a knife, and she's just like, ugh.
yeah.
You
But
just
she's a
buy
way
it.
better actor.
When
Yeah,
she
she's
walks out
great.
of the courtroom with Dent after that like cheesy scene where there's an attempt on Dent's life, she like walks with him like with swagger, like, oh yeah, you were just so cool.
Yeah.
And then she like totally changes her tone when they start talking about business. It's like she's just like really, really adept and nuanced.
yeah, she's awesome.
But
Yeah.
do you guys know why Katie's not in this one?
I don't know.
She was filming something else. It
What
was
a
just
mistake.
a scheduling thing.
That's crazy. that
Christopher
she
Nolan
chose-
wanted her 100%, but she would like her schedule was booked.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I
wish
think it's
that-
for the best.
I wish that Maggie Gyllenhaal was in both though. When you have her for one, you're like, oh, I wish I had her for both.
It
Yeah.
sucks when there's inconsistencies.
It's fine though. It's pretty small.
Honestly, like after seeing The Dark Knight, you go back and watch Batman Begins, and you're just like, oh, Katie's lame.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
she has no teeth compared to Gyllenhaal.
she's just like, hey, that's not justice. That's revenge.
but the character is doing it a lot.
Yeah, it's not about the writing. It's about the
But if it
acting.
was, yeah, you can imagine if Maggie Gyllenhaal was there, it would just everything would bite harder. Like the double slap, you'd be like, ooh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want someone to do a deep fake of her, like replace Katie Holmes. Someone will do it.
And then Christian Bale with Val Kilmer.
Shit.
Oh my gosh.
Is it a canon thing? Like, why is Bruce Wayne such a douchey bitch in this movie? Is it really all just a cover, or is it just
Bruce
how
Wayne,
he
the
is?
actor?
Bruce Wayne is just such a turd.
Sorry.
I think it's
Bruce
I think it's
Wayne,
supposed to
the
be his
character.
part of his cover. I think that's like the
Yeah.
idea of it.
No, like Bruce Wayne isn't a douchey bitch.
Like what do you have in mind? What are you
Bruce
thinking
Wayne
about?
Oh,
is-
like when he gives the toast at his fundraising event.
Yeah.
He comes in with all the ladies.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Where's Harvey? You know, when I heard that the guy from those
Yeah.
campaign commercials, it's like not even a good joke at all. He's
Yeah.
not suave."
It's kind of
I
funny
think though
because
I think it just goes to sell like I think he is selling that persona of being the like overcompensating billionaire.
Yeah.
But then he goes into his more sincere.
You're
these
right.
days.
He can turn it on and
I
off.
think it's effective as a diversion from any suspicion that he might be Batman when he kind of says sort of dumb stuff.
Oh, I love when he blocks the truck that was trying to ram the guy trying to reveal his character with his Lambo.
Yeah.
And he, Gordon's like Bruce Wayne, like you need to go to the hospital. He's like, oh, should I go to the hospital?
I should go to the hospital?
He's like, you don't watch the news much, do you?
Yeah.
When he tells him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was just trying to make the light," but actually,
Yeah.
that light wasn't going from green to red; it was
Yeah.
going from red to green. So that doesn't
Doesn't
make
make any
sense at all.
And I love,
Whoa.
that's that one look he gives to the guy that was trying to betray him. And it's like, oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's a subtle look. He gives the slightest
Yeah.
of nods.
Yeah.
Talk about humor for a second. There's a specific type of humor that made it back into this movie, and it's that Riley's favorite term, audience superior humor. In the first movie, you get.
I don't think I've ever heard
No,
you
but
say
you
that.
like audience superior. I've been saying it, and you're picking up on it. You like it.
Okay, explain that one more time what that is.
Or when the audience knows something that the people in the movie don't.
Oh, okay,
So
sure.
in the first movie, you get lines like, "Oh, nice car. You should see my other one." And the audience knows he's talking about the Batmobile.
we know.
Those jokes always make it into the trailer. And in this movie, there's a similar structure of joke, which is when Dent is asking Alfred, "Hey, does she have any psychotic ex-boyfriends I should know about?" And he's like, "You have no idea, buddy."
Alfred says, oh, buddy.
He's talking about Batman. Justice.
I want
my
to
goodness.
talk a little bit about the visuals of this movie because overall it's pretty stellar. And I mean, if you watch Heat and then you watch The Dark Knight, you'll be like, there is nothing original in this movie. Everything is from Heat. There was like a urban legend that Christopher Nolan watched Heat every day while he filmed this movie. And if you watch Heat and then you watch Dark Knight, you'll believe it.
I think
I haven't seen Heat.
I don't think
It is The Dark Knight without Batman.
Okay.
he watched it every day. I think it's a stretch, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he cited Heat and one other movie that I can't recall right now as being like these two movies.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
And Heat's an amazing movie, and in terms of like visceral,
That's Michael Mann, right?
experience, Yeah,
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
And audio design, it's insane. Like the gunfight in the middle of the street, it's like one of the most insane gunfights in movies ever. And I think this movie's really good. Like the shot when Harvey's going into the ambulance and there's all like the people panicking behind you. You see the gunshots and there's just the whole crowd is moving and panicking. It's a great shot, or like Alfred and Batman or Bruce Wayne walking as the lights are turning off in their Batcave and they're going out the thing. Like that stuff's really good. What really bothers me in this movie, and it hasn't bothered me since I haven't rewatched it for a long time, is the switch from IMAX to 35 mil constantly.
I could never detect the switching, but I noticed for the first time when they were in the car chase underground. I believe that was like the longest sequence ever that shot in IMAX.
Yeah.
That I noticed like, whoa, this looks really good.
Yeah, well, it looks way better, and I wish the whole movie was shot IMAX because it like, especially with modern displays now, you really get a lot out of the image. But it's the aspect ratio change that really kills me. That
I
it
didn't
goes
even
from,
notice that.
What?
Yeah, I don't think I know.
What?
No.
Oh my gosh, it breaks my immersion every time.
What happens?
So it goes from 235 by 1. So that's anamorphic aspect ratio, which has the letterbox.
That's the same as like a 21 by 9, an ultra wide monitor.
Exactly. So on a 16 by 9 monitor has the black bars, and it'll go to 16 by 9, which is the IMAX ratio that's more vertical, so it feels bigger. And in IMAX, it's amazing.
So
But
effectively,
within the same scene, they'll do cuts back and forth multiple times. There'll be 4 or 5 cuts where they're changing aspect ratio.
Are you saying that I'm going from black bars to no black bars?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Wait, really?
What?
How many
I
times
not
did it do
notice
that?
There's probably 25, 30 cuts in the whole movie where
What?
it's cutting back
This
and
could be a
forth.
playback setting.
Yo,
Could it?
I didn't see that at all.
No, there's no way because like it's framed differently because they shot it on different. And when you were in theaters, it would like literally go like. But on your TV, it just goes like.
David,
Dude, this is like a Berenstein Bears
you
Mandela
sure?
effect
Yes, you guys are insane.
thing. I am putting this
Wait,
on again.
wait, what version did you watch?
I watched it on Plex, but that's the norm because like he only shot those segments.
Everybody
in
watches
IMAX.
it on Plex.
It's a 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I
It was
don't
the
have
same
a
on- It was
4K
the same on the
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
I'm saying that's the version he's watching.
But like, if
That's not what I have.
If you like, so it's really noticeable in the Hong Kong sequence. So when there's the big
That's
aerial
because it's
shots,
a different country.
it's 9 by 16 instead of 16 by 9, where it'll go for these huge aerial shots of the city that look incredible. It looks so good, but then it'll cut to the inside of the building, and like all the fighting and stuff is 21 by 9, and I can't believe you guys didn't notice it. I like
David,
what is going on?
One question: were you enhanced?
No, I should have been.
I was on my first viewing this weekend, and man, that was great.
Yeah.
Do we want to? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that at all. I mean, I feel like the cinematography overall, my impression of it was just kind of like solid.
It's really solid, and like the IMAX, it's not just the bigger picture; it's the image quality. Like there's a lot more detail in the darks and the blacks.
Okay, yeah.
And so it just feels like you're going from HDR to non-HDR every time it cuts. And so I don't
know what to say. It very much bothered me.
yeah, and I mean, I'm obviously very aware of that stuff. Like I'm shooting a high resolution video. I play video games and watch movies all in 4K, so I'm very aware of that stuff. But
I'm easily pleased.
You guys want to talk about a bunch of random stuff I've written?
Yes.
hell yeah,
Okay. I noticed that in all the Batman movies, there always has to be an interaction between Batman and a little boy. There has to be. In Batman Begins, it's when he's climbing up, and then the kid sees him. He's like, the other kids won't believe me,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
gives them this
Gives him
gadget,
the little
right?
toy.
In this one, it's more indirect. The kids are sitting in a car, and they're just like shooting, like with their hands, like pretending
Oh,
like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
playing guns,
Yeah.
and then suddenly a real explosion happens, and Batman goes
Right.
in the Bat Pod. But I just
The
feel-
Bat Pod.
It's just like a little thing that the writers have to put in just to be like, yeah, this is
He's a
for
good
the
guy.
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of like that, I guess. Like you're a kid watching this movie and you see Batman interacting with someone like you.
Exactly.
I wonder if kids do
Representation.
Like the Dark Knight.
What's that?
Do kids like the Dark Knight?
Of course they do.
What do you mean?
I feel like it'd be a little too hard to comprehend.
What are you
It
talking?
doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't care, man.
I
As
have
long
a
as-
kid. The kid, I remember doing this myself. You watch the part you like, and then you go play.
Yeah.
You're just playing in front
Yeah,
of the
that's
TV.
fair.
No, the kids-
you look up from your action figures on the action, and then go back.
The kids are just following along for the big
That's fair.
parts.
I think the fighting style is better in this movie. Like the way they shoot it, it's mildly better.
Although
they pull
he-
back like 10%.
He really likes.
He loves that.
Yeah, having his arms up.
Yeah.
He does a really stupid punch on the Joker in the apartment scene. He's kind of crouched down, and the Joker comes up to him. It's right after he gets kicked in the gut with the knife shoe.
Oh, yeah.
And he does like.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people who are listening to the audio version. He basically has his hands out like a big moves, kind of like the
does-
beaches that way thing, and then just
it's
cartwheels them over.
It's
an
like the
earthbender.
Dragon Ball Z fusion
Yeah,
thing where they
or-
both put both their
Yeah,
hands
there's an
to the
earthbender
side.
move that's like
yeah,
that too.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
cheesy.
Gotcha.
But it's okay.
I love how he has to do another belly slide in this movie. Same scene.
Yeah.
He jumped out the window.
I thought of that when I was watching it this time. I was like,
That's so
oh,
funny.
James
I
is
didn't
going to like this
connect
part.
Actually, there's a different part where he uses his big biceps again. It's at the end.
His big,
It's
beautiful
when
biceps.
he's hanging and he's holding
Oh,
Gordon's
yeah.
son, and then he just like, and he lifts the.
I mean, the
kid
kid's
up.
like 70 pounds.
Okay. The Bat Pod.
Eh.
It
I
bugs
liked
me.
it.
It bugs me.
I liked it.
I'm like, what are you talking about? This Tumblr. When did they make this modification? I guess they made the modification at some point. Because no way the original Tumblr had that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
they're making
Fine. It's a little
modifications.
goofy.
Yeah.
But okay, sure. Where is he in the vehicle where the two front wheels become the motorcycle wheels?
So you can see it launch.
Yeah, it launches, and then he lands on top.
He lands on top?
Well, like-
One of the wheels goes from being on the side to swinging out to the
yeah,
back.
yeah, I saw that.
He's in
That's
the
what-
position he'd be in to shoot missiles.
Yeah. And then
And it just kind of okay, fine.
Here's the thing that pisses me off about
Oh,
it
sure.
is that in order to launch it, we see a sequence and profile view of the car where many, many parts are going.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, catastrophic destruction. Oh, there's like 35 moving parts to get this thing out.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
It just felt a little bit more like a Transformers movie or something.
That's
me.
for sure
It's just
transforming,
like,
but I think it's a practical effect mostly, and that's why it sells to me.
fair enough. Okay,
Really?
The other.
Like I think the things coming off the car, that's got to be practical.
So he's like practiced with the Bat Pod before because he's really good at driving that.
he has a
thing.
motorcycle.
Who wouldn't?
He flattens it and goes under the semi truck.
And then
I
it's
don't
got the wheel that turns on the other axis too.
Yeah,
That's
what?
sick.
That's a
That honestly
that's-
just felt like effects guys were like, let's
Yeah.
have some fun here.
I like it. It's cool. And that's another sequence that felt really slow. Like when he's going through the mall, he's going like 10 kilometers an hour, and it's like really cute. He's just like,
Also, the guns are like wobbling up
Yeah.
and down, like blah, 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 blah.
I
Hope your
kinda-
aim doesn't go off, eh, bud?
I kind of get the sentiment you're coming with at it though, because it's like, I don't need him to have a motorcycle. I kind of could take it or leave it in this one, but in the next movie where they have to amp it up again, and
No,
now he has
yeah.
a plane, I'm
Yeah,
like,
the plane's too
stop.
far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, and then the other main thing that bothered me about the Bat Pod is when after he
is
threads
that what
the
it's
needle.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When-
the Bat
when-
Cycle.
It is no, it's called Bat Pod. It
Yeah.
is. It is
Ew.
said.
It's the Bat Cycle, but they call it
Ew.
the Bat Pod
Why? What a
I don't
terrible
know.
name.
because it's a skate pod. It's a pod.
It's called, yeah, Bad Cycle's a cooler name. Bat Bike.
Batmoto.
We should change this
Batmoto.
podcast name to the Bat Pod.
I'd be
Yeah.
down.
Let's
Just
do it.
while we're doing these
guys,
movies.
Guys, if we get 40,000 likes, we'll retweet this.
Okay, the other thing that bothers me is after he does the thread the needle with the cable thing, he heads straight towards the building, and then what was that? He just flips completely up vertically, rotates on its axis, and flops down again.
Stoically, like a badass.
Yeah, that's yeah, and he's just like, yep, that's right. I did nothing strange.
Well, and here,
It looks so
That's
weird.
just one of those Batman moments.
yeah,
It's not even a Batman
No,
moment
but
because it looks goofy.
You're watching a superhero movie and you're just like, bam. It just has to have
and
some
the
kind of
truck flip
campiness.
is so cool. Like 6 frames later, that you're like, it's all good. My question
I
is,
just don't understand why they did it. It
what?
looks
So what
goofy.
is it anchoring on? Because like, okay, he brings the cable
He
underneath
shoots
the truck.
it. He shoots the front.
into the
When
building.
he's charging,
Nice.
no. When he's charging the semi, he shoots the cables into
and
the
then he
front
goes
of the semi.
under through the lamppost.
Yeah.
and then it falls off, and it looks like it puts like a little anchor.
Yeah.
you're on. That's not how. That's
No,
not
it would
work.
never stop it.
It would never stop.
It would never stop
Okay,
it.
I'm glad we.
Those
got
cables would break before stopping that truck.
All the
Yeah.
friction from all the tension from the street lamps.
No, but at the second it pulls a little bit from the anchor, it just whips around and it kills everybody on
The
the
street lamps pop off, too.
No, they all help.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Here's a random.
None of us
Batman.
have physics
There's
degrees.
Batman.
there's a playing card that the Joker leaves on a scene of a crime, and it says on the card, "Will the real Batman please stand up?" And I was like, "Is this really a Slim Shady reference? Really?"
It's probably from before.
I looked it
don't
up.
know.
I looked it up.
Okay.
It's from a game show that originally debuted in '56 called "To Tell the Truth," where like multiple people say, "My name is John Smith."
Yeah.
And then they
the
have
real John Smith, please stand up.
That's right.
I learned something.
Gordon, okay, third act. Batman is just about to go into the building and attack Joker's people or whatever.
Yep.
Gordon's like, no, we have to save Dent. I have to save Dent.
Yes.
And he just kind of says it into the air, and it's really bad.
It's cheesy.
It's just a bad.
I
I don't
get
know why
it.
they kept that.
I know why they kept it.
No, I know why they kept it because it's like he feels the guilt and he's personally
Well,
responsible.
is it that? I
Okay.
actually have this point of discussion here because it could be that he feels bad for, like, because Dent later accuses him. The reason that there's a showdown trying to punish like Gordon's son, is because Dent is like throughout the whole movie being like, you're working with corrupt people.
Yeah.
And so does Gordon say that I have to save Dent because I'm responsible because I work with these corrupt people?
Well, I think that's why he feels responsible.
Or is it a thematic thing where it's like the cops need to win without Batman, just like we were saying earlier?
No. I think it's more he feels personal responsibility.
Yeah, all right.
This is a great movie.
I got another one.
Go for it.
When Lucius Fox walks in and finds out Batman's like, hey, I got this big sonar thing going on. And he's like, beautiful, isn't it? Oh, man, we haven't even talked about his voice. But he's like, beautiful, isn't it? I'm like, that doesn't seem like something. It's beautiful. I love it. Like, Batman loves it. He says it's
weird.
beautiful.
You don't like big data?
Well, also, why does he have to use the voice with Lucius?
Exactly.
We talked.
He gets into it, man. And
He is Batman.
For consistency's sake.
That's fair.
He
That's
should.
fair.
Well, we have to, the voice is 100% worse in this one.
For sure.
He sounds like he's out of breath the whole time.
But the thing is, I actually found like, oh, it's not that bad because I'm so used to the parodies
Yeah.
No, honestly,
that it's actually not.
I
as
feel
bad.
like I've seen the parody. I feel like the parodies made me appreciate it less because there are parts where he's clearly out of breath, so from doing the voice so heavily, and so then he has to break up his delivery of the line in order to breathe in to get more air to say the rest of the line, and it just completely takes me out of it because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why did you go with something else?
I heard that
He's like, there are lots of people in this city ready to believe in good.
Do you need your puffer, Batman?
well, he's fighting a guy too. That's the hot.
Oh,
scene.
not that part. Not at that part.
I had heard that he's doing the same voice as Batman Begins, but they just in post changed the voice.
Oh.
Is there truth? Does anyone know about that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
sorry,
just
didn't
feel like he
validate
could
that.
have easily just like, hey, it's me, Bruce Wayne. Hey, it's me, Batman. But you don't need to go all the way down here. You can still have a bit of your voice in there.
Yeah.
But don't go all the way down here. Don't go to Dr. Claw. I'll get you, gadget.
Oh, that's a great reference, dude.
Yeah, you don't need to go all the way down. So, anyways.
Did you guys know that a special effects technician died during this shoot?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his name was Conway Wycliffe. He was a New Zealand dude, and it was during the shooting, actually like a practice shooting of the semi chase.
Oh.
He was in a car. He was hanging out the window of a car shooting, like tracking another vehicle. And the vehicle he was in was supposed to turn at the end of its run, take a right turn, but instead it just went straight and crashed into a tree at low speed. But because he was hanging out the window, he died on the
dang.
during the shooting.
Dang, this
No movie is worth a death, even like an injury.
And this
I always-
movie has a death. That's at least two.
Well,
It's Heath Ledger.
what do you
Well, that
guys-
was after though.
Yeah, but it was definitely
Well,
tied
sure.
to it because it was around
Definitely
the time
tied
that this
to it.
movie was coming out. Do you guys
Absolutely.
think that it enhanced the perception of the performance?
For sure. The fact that he died, there's immediately a bunch of folklore that was like, oh, the role drove him to it because he's a method actor and he was on these antidepressants and he was sleeping 2 hours a night to try to get into the role, and it contributed to his death.
Yeah, I think it definitely got people talking about it and more like it paying attention to his acting because of it. But at the same time, I don't think that means that the role wouldn't have been as iconic if not for that.
Oh, it's great. It's
like
fantastic.
I think whether he would have died or not, I think it's the best Joker in film ever.
He died before the movie came out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Like,
just
They were
before.
done shooting.
Yeah.
It was done.
And he was halfway through shooting his next movie, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
That looked brutal.
It's kind of interesting how they switch all the actors. And like there's good visuals and stuff, but yeah, it's not very good.
Talking about the score, it just has that Batman like.
I love it. Or no, it's the dun, tigga tigga dun, tigga tigga dun, tigga tigga dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Love
are
it.
some parts, yeah.
A lot of it shares the same motif as from Begins, but there was, for the first time, I noticed a song playing during the showdown of like, I'm about to kill your son, Gordon. The song playing during that, the song is called "Watch the World Burn." It's near the end. The soundtrack is chronological near the end, and that is an intense song.
Huh.
I went and listened to it in bed afterward. It was like, this is a creepy song.
Huh.
I encourage everybody to go check it out. I listened to it on YouTube Music. It
I had
might be
a
on
question
Spotify.
about the score. There's a weird, because like that's the Batman theme, the dun 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 dun,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And they pull that theme when they're evacuating the hospital, and it's just shots of people in like hospital beds being rolled, and they're
Yeah.
like full on like top tier Batman theme, and I'm like, that's a choice.
Seemed a bit strange. I think I remember that too. I was like, wait, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like pulling the James
It's
Bond
not
theme.
the Batman theme, it's the Gotham theme. I don't know.
I have one weird thing though, guys.
Okay.
This is just so weird. I just don't know what to make of this. The phrase "playing it close to the chest" is used twice in this movie. It's first used by Wayne, and then it's used by Dent. It's used by Wayne at the beginning when he's talking to Fox, and he's like, "I'm playing this one close to the chest." And he's talking about the sonar thing that he's keeping a secret. And then later, it's used by Dent to, I think, Rachel, and no characters or nothing they're talking about overlaps at all. Okay. So why the hell does Dent say that same phrase? Is it just because they're
Which phrase?
Playing this close to the chest?
It's a pretty.
Is it just
common.
because the writer is like, I have 5 phrases in my repertoire and I'm just going to put it in here? Or is it possible that it was deliberately done so that we have our kind of like memories jogged about like, hey, we want you to remember this thing that we're setting up that's like
I think it's
this
that.
government contract thing later. So even though this is like a meta out of canon reminder that this is happening, we just still want you to think
I
about
think
that.
it's that. I
You
think
do.
I don't think it's just like.
Do.
I don't think they spent all the time they did making the screenplay work and then leave 2 expressions because they were like lazy or they didn't notice. I think there's a purpose.
I really thought you guys would be like, no, it's incompetence.
No, that seems.
I've been mean on this movie, but it's an excellent movie.
It's a great movie, and I think that it's almost more interesting to dive into what is wrong with it than what works so well because so many things work well. So I don't know. Maybe that's why on this rewatch I was kind of like maybe less satisfied because I was like trying to find the things that bug me. Although, again, that third act very disorienting, and I think that stuck with me.
No,
But-
this one interstellared me, where I was always like, yeah, it's pretty good, and then I rewatch it, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's good.
the hype's there. It's for a
It's
reason.
good.
It's damn good.
Yeah.
Now I'm just stoked for the Snyder Cut.
What is that? There's a trailer today.
Yeah, there's a trailer
Justice
today.
League.
So this is a movie that already exists. It's
So-
a director's cut.
So Zack Snyder was directing Justice League, and halfway through, his daughter died, and so he had to leave. And Joss Whedon finished the movie, so he finished shooting, and then in editing, they did a bunch of reshoots. And so it's just a jumbled movie. It's got 2 very different directors with very different tones, and it's all screwed up. And so now Zack Snyder's back. He did more reshoots, and
Really?
he's finishing his movie, his version of the Justice League.
And this is the legit release.
Yes.
And so now everyone will get the chance to see a slightly different, also bad movie.
Exactly.
And it's going to be in black and white.
Is it?
Well, the trailer's
No. I think that was just the trailer.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's
That would suck.
I bet there's an option.
probably.
Or is
Maybe.
that always a Blu-ray option?
No, it's
I
not
don't
always
know.
a Blu-ray.
No, I
option,
think
but,
he just put the trailer out in black and white with that like iconic
Artistic.
Hallelujah song.
Zack
because it's
Snyder
like-
is one of the best directors of trailers.
Yeah, he's a hell of a
Like
trailer
Man of
director.
Steel's first trailer, I thought that movie would be the best superhero movie.
Dude, 300's trailer.
Yeah.
That 9 Inch Nails song?
Yeah.
Huh!
Yeah, Watchmen trailer, like even Sucker Punch's trailer is
Yeah.
really good.
Oh yeah, love
But,
love his trailers.
Unfortunately, the movies just can't hold up.
Look, he does some great action. I think he does some great action. Sucker Punch had some iconic like fight scenes and stuff. It was sick, but the movies are bad.
Well, we're going to cover Watchmen one day.
Okay.
Next week, we're going to we're trying to get Linus. Linus wants to come on the
right.
podcast, but it's just a matter of getting him here. And I think we're going to do Mortal Kombat. It's just because it sucks.
Very.
I'm excited to do bad
I'm
movies.
not excited.
I love
at
it.
all.
Riley hasn't even played the games as a child.
What?
He
No,
has
I-
no skin in the game.
This is like Sonic all over again. I just have no cultural
That's good.
attachment.
You have
to it.
different attachments. I was
Yeah.
a Street Fighter kid.
You guys are gonna be like, "Oh, it's stupid movie, but it's fun." I'll be like, "It's neither of those." It's
not a stupid movie.
It's just stupid. It's stupid and not fun.
It's genius
Yeah.
and very droll.
No, wait, I take it back. Wait.
It's a very somber movie.
Song's sick.
Well, we'll let you know, and we'll tweet it out.
Oh, and
We've
so
been bad at tweeting it out, though. Yes, James?
have we? Well, I just wanted to remind everybody that you can talk to us if you want. You can talk to us on Twitter at carpoolcritics. You can email us hello at carpoolcritics.ca.
That's the email address.
And for like the dozens of you, there's like 3 people who don't get this podcast in a way that normal people do. They don't just have a podcast app or go onto YouTube, but they actually just were literally going to our website, like they had it bookmarked or something. Those people got confused because we have a new website. We're no longer distributed by Libsyn. We're now on Anchor, who owns
Right.
Spotify. And so if you want to navigate to our website to get the podcast, just go to carpoolcritics.ca.
You could also just go to like Spotify or whatever. They have a web player. You can play it in your browser if you didn't know.
Wow.
Wow. Technology.
All right.
Bye.
Love
Good
you.
podcast, guys.
Yeah, that was great.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.